Picture two people at age 55. The first person wakes up on a Monday morning and decides not to go to work. Not because they're sick, not because it's a holiday, because they don't have to. The investments they've built over the past 2 decades generate enough income to cover their life without requiring them to trade their time for money ever again. They might still work, but only because they choose to, on their terms, doing something they actually want to do. The financial pressure is gone. The options are real. They built something that runs without them. The second person wakes up on the same Monday morning and goes to work because the alternative is falling behind on bills. Their retirement account exists, but it isn't enough to live on yet. Maybe in another 12 years if the market cooperates and nothing major goes wrong. They are still entirely dependent on their next paycheck. The job is not optional. The schedule is not theirs. The financial pressure hasn't changed in decades and won't change for at least another decade more. Here is the part that makes this comparison uncomfortable. These two people earned nearly identical incomes for most of their working lives. Same ballpark salary, same general cost of living. The first person did not get lucky with an inheritance. They did not start a company that sold for millions. They did not make dramatically more money from the second person for any sustained period. The gap between their outcomes at 55 was not created by income. It was created by habits. Specific, repeatable behaviors around money that the first person practiced consistently, and the second person didn't. That distinction matters enormously because income feels like the variable most people can't control. Habits are entirely within your control starting today. Early retirement in this context does not mean stopping work at 35 and spending the rest of your life on a beach. It means reaching a point where work becomes optional, where you have built enough financial independence that continuing to work is a choice rather than a requirement. For most people with average incomes, that point is reachable somewhere between their late 40s and late 50s, if the right habits are in place. Without those habits, work remains mandatory well into the traditional retirement age, and for a growing number of Americans, beyond. This video covers 10 specific habits that separate the people who reach financial independence early from the people who remain financially dependent indefinitely. The habits are not glamorous. None of them will go viral, but the math behind each one is undeniable, and the compounding effect of practicing all of them simultaneously is the closest thing to a reliable formula for financial independence that exists. Habit 1. They automate savings before they can spend it. The single most consistent behavioral difference between people who build wealth and people who don't is not how much they earn or how disciplined they are. It is whether their savings happen automatically or manually. Manual saving requires a decision every single month. After bills are paid and spending happens, whatever remains gets saved if any willpower is left to make that happen. This system fails consistently because spending expands to fill available money. There is always something the remaining funds could go toward. The savings decision gets made last, which means it gets made under the worst conditions, at the end of the month with a depleted decision-making energy and a long list of things the money could improve right now. People who retire early solve this problem structurally rather than relying on willpower. They set up automatic transfers that move money to retirement accounts, investment accounts, and savings before the paycheck ever reaches their checking account. The money is gone before the spending decision happens. The baseline for spending is permanently lower. Lifestyle adjusts to the smaller number automatically. According to research from the National Bureau of Economic Research, automatic enrollment in retirement savings plans increases participation rates from approximately 49% to 86%. The behavior change is identical, saving money for retirement, but the automatic version produces dramatically higher participation because it removes the decision entirely. You have to actively opt out rather than actively opt in. The math of this habit compounds remarkably quickly. Someone who automates $800 monthly to a retirement account starting at age 30 accumulates approximately $2.4 million by age 65 at 8% annual returns. Someone who saves the same $800 manually but misses contributions an average of 3 months per year, not through negligence, just through the natural friction of manual saving, accumulates approximately $2.1 million. The automation gap is $300,000 for the same nominal savings rate, created entirely by the structural reliability of not requiring a monthly decision. People who work forever save what's left. People who retire early save first and live on what remains. That sequencing difference, sustained over decades, produces outcomes that look like luck from the outside, but are entirely predictable from the inside. Habit 2. They know their number and work backward from it. Most people have a vague sense that they should be saving for retirement. Fewer people have a specific target they're working toward. Almost nobody has calculated the precise number they need to reach financial independence and built their current savings behavior around closing the gap to that specific figure. People who retire early know their number. The most widely used framework for calculating financial independence is the 4% rule, which comes from the Trinity study, a long-term analysis of retirement portfolio sustainability. The rule states that a portfolio can sustain annual withdrawals of 4% indefinitely without running out of money, assuming a diversified investment allocation. To calculate your financial independence number, multiply your desired annual retirement spending by 25. Someone who wants to spend $60,000 per year in retirement needs $1.5 million. Someone who wants $80,000 annually needs $2 million. Someone who can live well with $45,000 needs $1.125 million. The number is specific, calculable, and immediately actionable. Once you know it, every financial decision can be evaluated against how it moves you toward or away from that target. Without a specific number, saving feels abstract. You're putting money away without a clear sense of whether the pace is sufficient, whether you're ahead or behind, or how your current behavior maps to a future outcome. The absence of a target makes it impossible to know if you're on track. People who work forever often save inconsistently, partly because they're saving toward a feeling rather than a number. Once the number is calculated, the behavior becomes purposeful. Every raise becomes an opportunity to close the gap faster. Every expense reduction is translated directly into its impact on the target timeline. The retirement date becomes movable, something that gets closer or further based on specific identifiable decisions, rather than something that happens when it happens. This habit costs nothing and takes approximately 30 minutes to complete. The financial impact of having a specific target versus saving vaguely toward retirement is measured in years of working life. People who know their number reach it. People who don't tend to discover when they get there that there wasn't enough. Habit 3. They treat investment contributions like a non-negotiable bill. Rent is non-negotiable. The car payment is non-negotiable. The electricity bill is non-negotiable. These obligations get paid every month without internal debate because the consequence of not paying them is immediate and concrete. Investment contributions are optional for most people. They happen when money is available, when motivation is high, when nothing else came up that month. They get skipped without significant consequence in any given month because the cost of skipping doesn't show up immediately. It shows up 20 years later in the form of a retirement account that isn't large enough. People who retire early treat their investment contributions with the same psychological weight as their fixed bills. The The contribution is not a choice to be made each month. It is an obligation that gets met before discretionary spending begins. The amount is predetermined, the transfer is automatic, and skipping it is not considered an option any more than skipping the rent payment. This reframing sounds simple, but produces a profound behavioral change. When investment contributions are treated as optional, they get optimized away during any month with financial pressure, and there is always a month with financial pressure. Medical bills, car repairs, travel, seasonal expenses. The list of legitimate reasons to skip a contribution in any given month is endless. When contributions are treated as non-negotiable, they happen regardless. The financial pressure gets absorbed elsewhere, a discretionary expense gets reduced, a want gets deferred, a non-essential purchase doesn't happen. The investment account is protected from the month's friction in the same way the landlord is protected from it. According to Vanguard's 2024 How America Saves report, investors who maintained consistent contribution rates through the market volatility of recent years accumulated 40% more than investors who paused or reduced contributions during downturns. Consistency, not market timing or contribution size, was the primary driver of outcome difference. The non-negotiable mindset is the mechanism that produces that consistency. Habit 4. They aggressively eliminate high-interest debt first. Carrying high-interest debt while simultaneously trying to build wealth is mathematically self-defeating. Every dollar earning 8% in an investment account, while a separate dollar costs 24% in credit card interest, produces a net negative outcome. The debt is destroying wealth faster than the investment is creating it. People who retire early understand this arithmetic and act on it decisively. They treat high-interest debt not as a manageable monthly expense, but as an emergency requiring immediate resolution. They redirect every available dollar toward elimination until the debt is gone. Then redirect those same dollars permanently toward investment. The transformation this creates is significant. Someone carrying $8,000 in credit card debt at 24% APR is paying approximately $1,920 annually in interest. Eliminating that debt and redirecting $1,920 annually into investments at 8% returns produces approximately $95,000 in additional wealth over 20 years. The same dollars that were funding a credit card company's profit become the foundation of financial independence. The reason people who work forever tend to carry debt indefinitely is a combination of minimum payment psychology and false prioritization. Minimum payments make debt feel manageable. The balance moves slowly enough that aggressive payoff doesn't feel urgent. Meanwhile, the interest compounds quietly in the background, extracting wealth at a rate that dwarfs almost any reasonable investment return. People who retire early are not willing to fund someone else's financial independence while trying to build their own. They eliminate the leak before trying to fill the tank. The sequence matters as much as the behavior itself. Habit 5. They consistently live below their means at every income level. This habit sounds obvious. It is the foundational principle of every personal finance framework, and yet it is the habit most consistently abandoned as income grows, which is precisely why it needs its own dedicated place on this list. Living below your means at $40,000 is something most people manage out of necessity. Living below your means at $90,000, at $120,000, at $180,000, that requires active resistance against a powerful set of social and psychological forces that grow stronger with every income increase. The concept of lifestyle creep is well documented. As income rises, spending rises proportionally, leaving the savings rate essentially unchanged regardless of how much more money flows in. The apartment upgrades, the car upgrades, the restaurants upgrade, the vacations upgrade, the clothing budget upgrade. Each individual upgrade feels justified and proportionate. The aggregate effect is that higher income produces almost no improvement in financial position, because every dollar of increase found a corresponding expenditure. People who retire early maintain a savings rate, not a savings amount, that stays consistent or grows as income increases. When income goes up by $10,000, they save a significant portion of that increase rather than spending it. The lifestyle improves but lags behind the income growth, creating an ever-widening gap between earnings and spending that fills with wealth. Research from J.P. Morgan's Asset Management Guide from 2024 found that households maintaining a 20% or higher savings rate across income levels accumulated wealth at a 3 times faster rate than households saving 5% to 10%, despite having similar incomes. The savings rate, not the income level, was the primary predictor of wealth accumulation speed. Someone earning $80,000 and saving 25% accumulates wealth faster than someone earning $120,000 and saving 8%. The higher earner has more money and less to show for it. This pattern repeats across income levels because the behavior, not the income, is the variable that matters. Habit 6. They invest in low-cost index funds and leave them alone. The investment management industry generates billions of dollars annually by convincing people that active management, stock picking, and market timing produce better returns than passive investing. The evidence for this claim is almost entirely negative. According to S&P's SPIVA report, over 90% of actively managed large-cap funds underperform the S&P 500 index over a 20-year period. The funds that beat the index in any given year are largely determined by randomness, and the ones that beat it one year consistently underperform in subsequent years. The average actively managed fund charges 0.5% to 1.5% in annual fees. A low-cost index fund charges 0.03% to 0.10%. That fee difference is not minor over time. On a $500,000 portfolio, a 1% annual fee costs $5,000 per year in management expenses. Over 20 years, the compounding effect of that fee difference amounts to approximately $180,000 in lost wealth, paid to fund managers who statistically underperform the index they're trying to beat. People who retire early have largely internalized a simple insight. The market return is available to everyone at almost zero cost. Attempting to beat it consistently costs more in fees and taxes than the attempt produces in additional returns. The rational choice is to capture the market return efficiently and direct the fee savings into additional investments. Equally important is the second part of this habit, leaving investments alone. Market volatility triggers emotional responses. Corrections feel like permanent losses. Recovery periods feel uncertain. The impulse to sell when markets decline and buy when they recover, the exact opposite of rational investment behavior, is psychologically powerful and financially devastating. Research from Dalbar's 2024 quantitative analysis of investor behavior found that the average equity fund investor earned 6.81% annually over the past 20 years, while the S&P 500 returned 9.74% annually over the same period. The entire gap is attributable to investor behavior, buying and selling at emotionally driven times, rather than holding consistently. The market offered 9.74%. The average investor captured 6.81%. The difference is behavior. not access. People who retire early buy index funds, reinvest dividends, and do not check their balances during market downturns. People who work forever try to outsmart the market that has consistently defeated professionals with unlimited resources and decades of experience. Habit 7. They build multiple income streams before they need them. A single income stream is a single point of failure. The job disappears, the income disappears. The business struggles, the income disappears. For people dependent on one source of money, financial security is always contingent on circumstances outside their complete control. People who retire early build additional income streams not because they need them to survive today, but because they understand that financial independence requires income that exists independently of their labor. The goal is not just to accumulate a large account balance. The goal is to create income that arrives whether they work or not. According to research published in Inc., 65% of self-made millionaires had at least 3 income streams before they achieved significant wealth: dividend income from investments, rental income from property, side income from a skill or interest monetized online, royalty income from created content or intellectual property. Each stream is small initially. The aggregate over time creates financial independence. The distinction between people who retire early and people who work forever is not the size of their investment accounts, but whether those accounts generate income passively. A $1.5 million portfolio invested in dividend-paying index funds generates approximately $45,000 to $60,000 annually in dividends and distributions without requiring any work. That income stream exists regardless of whether its owner wakes up Monday morning and decides to go to work. Building additional income streams requires time and initial effort. A rental property requires capital and management. A dividend portfolio requires years of contributions to reach meaningful income levels. A monetized skill requires development and platform building. None of these happen quickly. All of them compound into something significant if started early enough. The person who starts a second income stream at 32 instead of 42 has a decade of additional compounding. That decade is frequently the difference between retiring early and not retiring at all, because income streams, like investment accounts, produce their most dramatic growth in their later years. Habit 8. They protect their wealth with appropriate insurance. This habit is the least discussed on any early retirement list, which is precisely why it belongs here. Building wealth over decades and then losing it to a single uninsured catastrophic event is not a theoretical risk. It is a pattern that derails financial independence regularly for people who did almost everything else right. Medical bankruptcy is the most dramatic example. According to a 2023 study in the American Journal of Public Health, medical debt is a contributing factor in approximately 66% of personal bankruptcies in the United States. A single serious illness or injury can generate $100,000 to $500,000 in medical costs for an uninsured or underinsured person. A lifetime of disciplined saving can be eliminated in a single hospital stay. But the insurance habit extends beyond health coverage. Disability insurance is statistically among the most important and most underutilized protections available. According to the Social Security Administration, a 20-year-old worker has a 25% chance of becoming disabled before reaching retirement age. The most valuable asset most working people have is not their investment portfolio, it is their future earning capacity. Disability insurance protects that asset. People who work forever treat insurance as a wealth preservation tool rather than an annoying expense. They maintain appropriate health coverage, disability coverage, and adequate property insurance. They understand that the purpose of insurance is not to generate financial return, but to prevent catastrophic loss from eliminating the foundation they've spent years building. The people who build wealth carefully and protect it appropriately reach financial independence. People who build wealth carefully and leave it exposed to catastrophic risk sometimes start over. Habit 9. They invest in their own skills and earning capacity. Every other habit on this list focuses on what to do with money once it arrives. This one focuses on increasing the amount that arrives in the first place, because the ceiling on wealth accumulation is directly related to the ceiling on income, and that ceiling is not fixed. People who retire early consistently invest in skills, education, credentials, and capabilities that increase their market value. Not necessarily through formal degrees. The return on investment for expensive graduate degrees is highly variable and often negative, but through targeted skill development that directly translates to higher earning capacity in their specific field or in adjacent opportunities. The return on human capital investment dwarfs most financial investments when done strategically. A $2,000 certification course that leads to a $15,000 salary increase produces a 750% return in the first year alone. A $500 online course that enables a freelance skill generating $1,000 monthly produces $12,000 annually from a one-time investment. The compounding effect of higher income, when combined with disciplined savings habits, accelerates the path to financial independence dramatically. According to Georgetown University's Center on Education and the Workforce, workers who pursue ongoing skills development earn 20 to 40% more over their careers than workers with equivalent starting qualifications who stop developing after initial training. That income gap, channeled through the savings and investment habits described throughout this video, compounds into a retirement timeline difference measured in years. The people who work forever often stop investing in their own development once they reach a comfortable income level. Comfortable is the enemy of financially independent. The people who retire early stay uncomfortable in productive ways, continuously expanding what they're capable of and what the market will pay them for it. Habit 10. They make financial decisions based on net worth impact, not monthly payment. This final habit is the mental framework that ties everything else together. It is the cognitive lens through which people who retire early evaluate every significant financial decision, and it produces systematically different choices than the framework most Americans use. Most people evaluate financial decisions based on monthly affordability. Can I afford the payment? Does this fit in the budget this month? Is the monthly number manageable? This framework is how car dealerships sell expensive vehicles to people who stretch loan terms to 7 years to make the payment work. It is how mortgage lenders approve buyers at the top of their qualification range. It is how subscription services multiply and lifestyle creep goes undetected. Monthly affordability masks the true cost of decisions. People who retire early evaluate financial decisions based on net worth impact. Not can I afford the payment, but what does this decision do to my net worth over the next 5, 10, and 20 years? This framework produces radically different answers to the same questions. A $45,000 car on a 72-month loan has a monthly payment of approximately $750, affordable for someone earning $80,000. Net worth impact over 10 years, negative $60,000, when depreciation, interest, and the opportunity cost of the invested alternative are calculated. A reliable $15,000 used car has a monthly impact of 0 if purchased with savings. Net worth impact over 10 years, the $30,000 difference invested at 8% returns becomes approximately $65,000. The same monthly budget produces dramatically different outcomes depending on which framework drives the decision. This habit does not require a financial degree or complex modeling. It requires one question applied to every significant purchase. What is the 10-year net worth impact of this decision versus the alternative? The answer to that question, calculated honestly and consistently, changes behavior more reliably than any amount of budgeting motivation or financial willpower. People who retire early run this calculation instinctively. People who work forever make decisions based on monthly affordability and wonder why their income never seems to translate into wealth. The 10 habits on this list share a common architecture. None of them require an extraordinary income. None of them require perfect discipline or complete sacrifice. All of them require a shift in how financial decisions get made, from reactive and default to intentional and calculated. Automate savings before spending happens. Know the specific number you're building toward. Treat investment contributions as non-negotiable. Eliminate high-interest debt aggressively. Maintain a consistent savings rate at every income level. Invest in low-cost index funds and leave them alone. Build multiple income streams before you need them. Protect your wealth from catastrophic loss. Invest in your own earning capacity. Evaluate decisions by net worth impact rather than monthly payment. These habits, practiced simultaneously and consistently over 20 to 25 years, produce financial independence for people with average incomes. Not every time and not on a fixed schedule, because markets vary, life intervenes, and starting points differ, but consistently enough that the pattern is undeniable in the research on how ordinary people build extraordinary financial outcomes. The person at 55 with options did not get lucky. They made a series of decisions over decades that most people around them did not make. Those decisions were available to the people around them. They simply were not made. You are making retirement decisions right now. Every month you automate savings or don't. Every raise you capture or spend. Every debt you attack or maintain. Every investment you hold through volatility or sell in panic. Every skill you develop or let atrophy. Every financial decision you evaluate by net worth impact or monthly payment. The habits are either forming or not forming. The compounding is either working for you or against you. The gap between the two people at 55 is being created right now in the decisions that feel small and routine and completely ordinary. None of them are ordinary. They are all retirement decisions. The only question is which person at 55 you are currently building toward.